3,000-something viewers in the chat. A pregnant girlfriend on the couch defending a solid versus a liquid. A runaway from home. Be for real. Andy walking through the front door with no warning. And a phone call to the aunt in another state that was supposed to prove a high school diploma exists and instead proved the opposite live. Somebody in that living room lost this stream tonight. It wasn't the girl on the couch. Nevaeh Akira is 30-plus. Doctor visits deep into a pregnancy she confirmed on Blueface, owned Twitch back in February, and the baby boy, briefly named Solar before it got flipped to Jonathan Jamal Porter Jr., is due August 24th, 2026. So the clock on this stream is not abstract. That's a woman weeks out from labor sitting there getting called liquid on her own baby daddy's platform. Lock in real quick, hit whatever the bell equivalent is on this feed, tap the like, so this one stops floating past people who need to see it, because the receipts in this one aren't in a filing. They're in a room. Los Angeles, Porter household, somewhere late night into early morning, roughly 2+ hours of continuous IRL Twitch stream. On camera, Jonathan Michael Porter, known to y'all as Blueface, his pregnant girlfriend Nevaeh Akira, and a surprise walk-in from his mother, Karlissa Saffold Harvey, who did not call ahead, did not text, and showed up with an overnight bag and a toothbrush. Blueface, for the record, only just wrapped a prison stint tied to a probation violation from the 2022 Vegas strip club shooting plea. The release timeline points at right around now, which means every one of these streams is technically post-release content. That matters. It's context, not decoration. Let me put the exhibits on the table before we start connecting them. Nothing on this pass is my read. This is just what came out of people's mouths in the order the receipt caught it. Exhibit A, Jonathan on his girlfriend's past. You keep talking about the past tense. Don't know solid man, speak past tense. Then a beat later, a solid man is going to hold you accountable and let you know that throughout the whole pregnancy, treat you like _ that is on camera on his own stream, said to a woman visibly pregnant. Exhibit B. Nevaeh, same stream, defending herself. I live that life. I did that. I did. And whoop-de-doo, one-time thing. Learn my lesson. She isn't denying a past. She's saying it's a past. Exhibit C. Jonathan laying out his framework directly to chat. I'll be the bad guy to get through to you. I'll be a bad guy. As long as you learn, I'll be the bad guy. He states this as strategy, not a slip, not heat of the moment. Strategy. Exhibit D. And then the pivot in the room, Karlissa arrives. No warning. And within a minute, she's on camera. I ran away from home today. Her words, on her son's stream. She's 53 years old, married for a decade, and she says she ran away. Exhibit E. Karlissa, once the argument turns to Jonathan's upbringing, you saw your dad put a suit on and go work a couple of years. Before that, he was a Rolling Stone, just like you. That is pass one. No interpretation yet. Just what people said, on tape, in front of thousands. Now walk it with me. Nevaeh confirmed the pregnancy live in February 2026 on Blueface stream. Doctor visit reveal, the whole thing. Between February and now, the public timeline includes Blueface being seen on a date with Stunna Girl The Shade Room via Facebook, Nevaeh reacting emotionally on live stream to a separate Stunna Girl / Blueface stream back in January, and reporting that Nevaeh caught a DM alleging Blueface passed her an STD, with Blueface then declining to fully deflect Instagram post via Alabathi Teddy Official. So when Jonathan sits on camera and lectures Nevaeh about being liquid, while she's carrying his baby, the pattern that's actually in the paper is that the receipts of infidelity, public flirtation with other artists, and health-related allegations all point at him during the same pregnancy window. He's prosecuting the case in the room. The paper's prosecuting him outside it. Then the second overlay. Karlissa. She shows up unannounced. She calls it running away. She's 53? Wait, let me reread that, because during the stream, she initially plays like she's not quite 60 before pivoting and saying she's still in her 50s, and public reporting has her at 53 hip-hop headquarters via Facebook. So, the age math on the stream itself was already sliding around before we got to the diploma question. And notice this, the entire stream before Karlissa walked in was Jonathan running the "I'm teaching her a lesson" bit. The moment his mother sits down, that bit stops working because the receipts in the room are no longer about Nevaeh's past. They're about his. Zoom in on one exchange. Just one. Karlissa asks him, on camera, to name where his father graduated high school. He says, 86. She says his father dropped out in the 10th grade. He calls his Aunt Suzette live to prove her wrong. Aunt Suzette, his own father's twin sister, is put on speaker. First she says, yes, her brother graduated. Then Karlissa asks which school. And the aunt says Fairfax. And Karlissa says, no, that's where he dropped out of. And then the aunt says, I did not say that. You guys are yelling too much and it's too late. And I'm like, you're not paying attention. That is the pivot. That is the receipt. Somebody on speakerphone changed her testimony mid-call. In the transcript, you can literally watch it happen. And Karlissa, who is not a stranger to the internet or to being a chaos agent in her own right, clocks it immediately. The person you calling to vouch for you just went against your whole. Now zoom tighter, because there's a second magnified moment right after. Jonathan says, my dad hasn't had a domestic violence incident. And Karlissa's response, one flat sentence. The reason you had a dad is 'cause I wouldn't dare put him in jail. She doesn't scream that. She just says it. That's a tier 1 line in tier 3 clothing. She's implying she had leverage she never used. And she says it like she's answering a phone bill. Third magnifier, the money bar. Jonathan says he made $100,000 at 7 years old. Karlissa doesn't dispute the number. She disputes the destination. $30,000 to your brother. And then the $70,000 went to her, she says. Then Jonathan cuts back. I made $100,000. Got a PlayStation. That exchange, right there is the whole architecture of every mother-son argument in a house where a child was the earner. Neither of them is fully wrong. Both of them are living in different versions of the same $100,000. Camp 1, the Nevaeh defenders, their framing is simple. You have a visibly pregnant woman being called liquid, being lectured on solidity, being told the man in front of her is going to be the bad guy until she learns, while chat is being polled on how many weeks after birth she's going to relapse. Their read is, this is a woman being publicly conditioned by the father of a child she is weeks away from delivering. Reporting has actually captured Nevaeh herself, saying on stream that she doesn't care if he cheats, framed as her keeping her peace. That statement in this camp's read is a red flag with a bow on it. Camp 2, she signed up for this camp, their Steelman is real. Nevaeh has publicly reunited with Blueface after prior breaks, has watched him spend on her. A Mercedes-Benz was reported after one reunion. Instagram via Keisha Gale, and has known who he is in public for years. From this camp's read, she isn't a victim of the stream, she's a co-author of it. And you know what? I'll give him that partially. She is choosing to be in that seat. That's not nothing. But the counter read only holds if you also accept that she chose it is a defense of everything said to her while she's carrying a child. And that's where the counter case leaks. Full-grown consent to be on camera is not the same as full-grown consent to be publicly diagnosed as a liquid. Camp 3. The Karlissa is the real story camp. Because let's be honest, chat. Half the internet only pressed play on this stream when it hit them that his mama pulled up unannounced. Karlissa has been an internet personality in her own right for years. She has her own show she's referred to as Six-It, toxic spelled backwards, and she reflects openly on how proactive she is on social media Hollywood Unlocked via Facebook. So, one framing here is, she came for content. Another framing is, she came because a pregnant woman she's watched him pattern repeat on was on that couch, and she wanted eyes in the room. Both can be true. And honestly, watching the stream back, both look true. Here's where I land, and I'm going to say it plain, because the paper backs it, and I'm not going to pretty it up. Jonathan Porter's entire framework on that couch, solid versus liquid, teach her a lesson, be the bad guy, is not a philosophy. It's a manufactured image fracture. It's a public persona doing the exact opposite of what the paper trail self is doing. Follow me. On the stream, he's the accountability guy. In the paper, during the same pregnancy, he's the one being publicly linked to Stun a Girl, being reacted to emotionally by Nevaeh on air over Stun a Girl streams, being named in DM allegations. Nevaeh herself confronted him on Instagram via Alabathi Teddy Official. On the stream, he's the disciplinarian. In the paper, he's just weeks removed from a prison stint tied to a probation violation from the Vegas plea. On the stream, he's the man teaching a woman what a solid man does. In the paper, the mother who raised him just made him name a school his father allegedly didn't graduate from, and got the aunt to fold on tape. The thesis is this: the whole solid versus liquid bit isn't about Nevaeh, it's about him. It's the story he needs to be telling on camera, because it's the only story that makes the past 6 months of his own paper trail feel like it was on purpose. If he can be the professor in the room, he doesn't have to be the guy the outside receipts say he is. If she can be the student, he can pretend the last 12 months of streams weren't about him being taught by his own consequences. And Karlissa walking in blew that up, because Karlissa didn't come in to defend Nevaeh. She came in and said one time, "Calm, you don't get a reward for anything then." That was the closing argument. He wants credit for being the professor. She says, "Fish don't get rewards for swimming," which is a cold way to tell your own child that being a decent parent to a pregnant woman is the baseline, not the flex. You want the counter? Fine. Some of y'all are going to say Karlissa is the last person qualified to lecture him. She's got her own domestic paper, her own on-camera altercations that Jonathan referenced, the drunk boyfriend incident, the fight with the current husband a week prior, and she doesn't really deny that. She reframes it. "My daughter is just like you and Drea Bag. So, when y'all don't have y'all way and y'all pop off, I'm stuck to deal with the bully." Which, okay, that's a reframing, not a denial. So, the counter's not weightless. But here's the pin. The counter case cuts against Karlissa's credentials. It does not cut against her facts on that stream. She got the aunt to fold. She named the child support timeline. She named the private school year. She named the sugar daddy plus boyfriend arrangement without flinching. And she named it before Jonathan could edit it into a bar. His whole thesis needed his origin story to hold. She audited the origin story on speakerphone. That's the verdict, and I'm leaning into it because the receipts do too. By the time August 24th rolls around and Jonathan Jamal Porter Jr. is actually here, the polling bit that ran on this stream, chat voting on how many weeks postpartum Nevaeh elapses, is going to age like milk left on a porch, because either she does exactly what he predicted, and every clip of him predicting it plays back as him engineering the outcome he wanted, or she doesn't, and every clip of him predicting it plays back as him publicly gambling against the mother of his son. Both outcomes end the same way. The "I'm teaching her" framework doesn't survive contact with the baby actually existing. Watch that footage disappear from his own reel by fall. Don't be surprised if the wild card here is Karlissa herself weaponizing this exact stream. She's already been public about her own show and her own content platform, Hollywood Unlocked, via Facebook. She's already been publicly involved in the grandkid content ecosystem around Journey Port of the Shade Room via Facebook, and she made a point on this stream to say she was pulling up in the morning with her own cameras. The version of the next 30 days where Karlissa builds her own counter-narrative around this stream, clip by clip on her own platform, is the version where Jonathan wakes up in October and realizes his mother owns the story of his summer. The residue, though, that's the part that lingers, because the kid, the actual Jonathan Jr., is going to grow up in a search engine that has his father on stream in the same month as his birth, running a chat poll on when his mother would fall short. Not a court doc, not a lyric, a poll. That's the receipt with the longest half-life. 20 years from now, that clip is not going to look like content. It's going to look like a diary entry the family didn't know was going to be legible in the archive. And that's the part nobody in that room was thinking about, because everybody was too busy winning tonight to notice they were writing tomorrow. That's the case. That's the paper. That's the room. Blueface came in to teach a lesson, and his mama walked in and taught a bigger one, and the aunt on speakerphone taught the biggest one of all on accident. If you sat through this one all the way to the end, do us a courtesy. Tap the like, hit subscribe if you're not locked in yet, flip the notifications so the next drop finds you, and drop your read in the comments. Because remember the question I planted up top, who actually lost that stream? You know now, and I want to see who else clocked it. Next case is loading. Wrap and receipt out.